Day in the insane tough life of a Roman slave. Slavery served many purposes in ancient Roman culture. Their daily life varied even if they were at the bottom of the social hierarchy. Our mental image of Roman slaves is of hardened prisoners and enslaved captives who had been forcibly removed from their nation and made to serve the Romans in exchange for their freedom. However, things weren't always so. Some slaves lived better than their free Roman neighbors because they were so highly valued by their masters. So, who were they though? The life of a Roman slave was a living misery, regardless of the circumstances that led to their enslavement. So, welcome back to the channel, you all. Let's discover more about the daily life of a Roman slave. The Romans called their slaves servi, and they were typically war prisoners or those who had managed to escape from defeated tribes. The pirates' captives and plunder may be bought and sold like any other commodity. Slaves were treated as commodities that may be purchased, sold, tortured, or killed. Slave tensions arose as a result of the massive influx of slaves from diverse ethnic groups and cultures, and 3 separate slave rebellions broke out as a result. Slave revolts of this magnitude, known as the Servile Wars, were the only time Roman slavery was seriously shaken. Individual slaves' courageous attempts to break free, which will remain undocumented for all time, must be forgotten. Slave rank in Roman society. Some slaves could advance in the family slave hierarchy if they were very skilled, worked hard, or had good looks. Either they would rise to positions of authority over their fellow slaves, or they would be manumitted or freed more quickly. Some of the slaves may even develop feelings for their masters and begin romantic relationships with them. Numerous slaves and free people lived in Rome's elite families. Tacitus's household at Pedanius included 400 slaves. Possessing a large number of slaves was a sign of wealth and social status in urban settings, which could have been symbolic for a prefect of a city. Having slaves from a variety of places was an important goal for any family who owned more than one. The objective was to stop any agreement between slaves that could spark a rebellion. Slave families often had dozens of slaves, which exacerbated tensions among the slave community. In the rural estates, the work of the other slaves was supervised by favored and trustworthy male slaves known as vilici. Slave educators also played a vital role. These men cared after the master's children from infancy onward, and they were all men. They would be expected to impart knowledge, therefore they would need formal education themselves. That they were cultured, educated, and well-versed, and hence had a better chance of achieving independence. Slave women's experiences. Slaves in the cities often followed their masters, did their hair and makeup, and even babysat for them. They worked as housekeepers, vilici's wives or vilici's maids in the countryside. Female slaves were restricted in many ways, including in their relationships and the raising of their children. Legal marriage was outlawed, although unlawful relationships that resembled marriage were popular. Slave children were usually the master's property and played with their master's legal, free, and favored offspring as they grew up. This exemplifies the intricate workings of a typical Roman family. The fact that slave owners used their property for sexual pleasure is assumed. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor, found inner satisfaction in the fact that he had resisted the temptation to sexually exploit 2 slaves. A Roman slave market. Half-naked slaves with a wooden sign dangling around their necks might be seen frequently in Roman marketplaces. Slaves of all ages were identified by identifying information carved into a wooden sign. Specifications such as name, age, and abilities were put down. Some formalities had to be met before a slave could be sold legally. Disagreements regularly arose concerning the slave's performance, necessitating judicial intervention to determine what constituted an illness or defect. That's all for today's video. Hey, please do like our video and subscribe to our channel for more like it, and thanks for watching.